Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Saturday everybody. First up, there is some construction going on in the office next to me. There may be some noise from that construction through the recording. My apologies in advance for the distraction. A slow-cooking political and diplomatic scandal, which we've been following for a few months now, in Canada-China relations, appears to be coming to a boil this week. The Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister, speaking to the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee on Thursday, has confirmed that Canada has summoned China's ambassador over revelations that Beijing was targeting Conservative MP Michael Chong and his family. Canadian media outlet The Globe and Mail previously reported that PRC government agents led by a Chinese diplomat in Canada, Zhao Wei, targeted the MP and his family, quote, after he spearheaded a parliamentary motion that condemned Beijing's treatment of Uyghurs as genocide, end quote. Accusations which Beijing strongly denies, with the Chinese Foreign Ministry expressing on Thursday, quote, China never has any interest in interfering in Canada's internal affairs, end quote. Ottawa is now considering expelling the diplomat. As regular viewers know, this isn't the only Canada-China scandal afoot. A leaked Canadian Security Intelligence Service report also accuses Beijing of trying to sway the outcome of Canada's federal elections in 2019 and 2021. The revelations from earlier this year forced a response from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who assured his domestic audience that the interference attempts were unsuccessful. Again, Beijing denies these accusations. Also recently, speaking in New York, Trudeau, speaking on environmental and labor standards and trade agreements, expressed, with reference to the PRC, quote, if we're being honest, lithium produced in Canada is going to be more expensive because we don't use slave labor, end quote. The comments also provoked an angry denunciation from Beijing. Of course, as we normally see whenever relations between China and a foreign country are pulled into controversy, state media has produced a series of highly critical pieces in recent weeks. As we turn to one which was published just yesterday, Friday evening, we can see common and familiar themes once again emerge from the state-run rhetoric. Quote, the Canadian Intelligence Agency has been fabricating reports to feed accusations of Chinese interference, and the country's politicians and media have been working very hard to spread them. Amid this continuing manipulation of public opinion, Canadian diplomacy overreacted in a way it should not have, revealing once again its immaturity, lack of independence, and instability, end quote. The editorial team then turns to the same playbook we have seen in state-run commentaries on nations from South Korea and Australia to Germany and Japan. Quote, when it comes to foreign intervention, Canada does face a lot of it, but it is barking up the wrong tree. It is Washington that has interfered in Ottawa's internal affairs the most, but these Western countries have neither the courage nor the ability to correct deviations and mistakes in their China policy. Unfortunately, under pressure from the US, Canada has repeatedly made wrong decisions. End quote. Next up, authorities in Tangshan, northern China, have arrested or detained more than 20 people, including several former county officials, for covering up the number of people killed in a deadly mine flood last year in early September, including hiding bodies. The flood at an iron ore mine in China's largest steel-producing city is now believed to have killed 14 people. According to a report released by Hebei Province's Department of Emergency Management, which has now been deleted, likely because it called for the punishment of 40 people rather than 20, shortly after the flood, the mine director reported the situation to local officials who, quote, ordered personnel to destroy monitoring equipment and falsify documents, end quote. According to the report, county officials arranged for staff to hide the victims' bodies before an official rescue operation for the trapped miners could begin. Quote, this is not the first time that local officials in China have covered up a mining accident. In January 2021, an explosion at a gold mine in Qixia, Shandong province, killed 10 people and left another person missing. The city's former party secretary and former mayor were removed from their positions after it was found that they had initially failed to report the incident and later concealed certain details from higher authorities. End quote. Next up, Taiwan and war policy. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit the like button. It's a huge help. It is just me making these episodes every day. It's a lot of work, but with your guys' support, sharing and subscribing, it's a huge source of inspiration. Anyone who can go the extra mile and help me keep the channel financially sustainable and primarily subscriber supported, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. As always, thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. Okay, and finally for today, let's move through several salient Taiwan-related developments from the last few days. On Thursday, Taiwan's defense minister, speaking to lawmakers, expressed that Taiwan will treat a mainland drone or jet incursion into its airspace as a first strike and a declaration of war. The comments appear to be a restatement of positions that Taiwan has made about aircraft violating the 12 nautical mile, 22-kilometer area that Taiwan regards as defining its territorial sea and airspace in face of increasingly common and acute PLC military exercises. Last month, China staged war games around Taiwan after Taiwan's Taiwan met U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy in Los Angeles. Defense Minister Chiu said that within a one-week period, China sent autonomous aircraft around the island at least twice, but so far they have not strayed into the 12-mile limit. The Director General of Taiwan's National Security Bureau, Taiwan's spy agency, also spoke to lawmakers the same day, touching on the theme of intelligence sharing with the so-called Five Eyes bloc, made up of the Anglophone nations of the US, UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. Quote, "We do share some information with our international friends. They also share information with us. So we do have a kind of cooperation with our international friends on China's military movements." End quote. The same day, Thursday, Taiwan authorities published a report that said that Taiwan will receive its first batch of 66 F-16V jets from the US later than planned, in the third quarter of 2024, rather than the end of this year. 4 MQ-9 drones are expected to be delivered in 2025 too. However, the following day, Friday, multiple US media outlets, citing unnamed sources, reports that the White House plans to send $500 million worth of weapons aid to Taiwan using the same emergency authority that has been used more than 35 times for Ukraine. As a part of the 2023 budget, Congress authorized up to $1 billion worth of weapons aid for Taiwan using what is called Presidential Drawdown Authority. This new reported package will involve sending existing stockpiles of US weapons or support equipment to Taiwan under said authority. Using a drawdown will let the US sidestep the long process of weapons procurement, which commentators argue has led to a large backlog of defense equipment valued at perhaps tens of billions of dollars, which have been approved but not yet delivered to Taiwan. Quote, "The PDA was authorized in order to deliver vital security assistance in support of Taiwan's self-defense, which is consistent with long-standing US policy as outlined in the Taiwan Relations Act." End quote. Of course, this move will likely anger Beijing, and analysts warn that much more is on the way. Quote, "I expect the Congress will push for the administration to use the full $1 billion they authorized. This should be viewed as a good first step to use these new authorities to begin to exponentially address shortfalls in cross-strait deterrence." End quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.